Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford, so grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Welcome to another episode of Just Minding My Business. I hope you had a purposeful day today. Have you ever felt shame and guilt? Of course you have. It's an emotion that we are all born with. Coming to the mic is Lois Hollis, who has supported me in looking at shame and guilt in a whole new light. Lois is originally from Baltimore, Maryland, where she led a successful career as a registered nurse, and later in her life she transitioned to the holistic field of health to save her own life. And today Lois is going to give us a little glimpse into her life as to what that was all about. Well, welcome, Lois. I surely appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. If I may start off, I think the biggest question is how do you transit from such a long established medical field to holistic health when it really wasn't savvy in the 1980s. So, now it's like, well, of course. But we're talking 40 years ago, and I was a stoic nurse. I was a nurse's, we called them candy stripers 60 years ago. I'm 74, so we got to backtrack a little bit here. So they call them nurses' aides today, or I don't know the names. But anyway, since I was 12 years old, I always wanted to be in the health field, and I always was. I married a doctor. And my daughter is a doctor, and her husband's a doctor, MD. So I am very well surrounded by the medical field, and I always support health. However, in my 20s, I developed migraine headaches to the point that I had a migraine headache every day. And, of course, I went to the establishment of pills because what else was there? I didn't know. And for 30 years I took Furanol and other prescription drugs. However, at that point my health was failing. No one can not find the cause of their headaches, let alone take medicinal products for it. And at that point I met a wonderful healer who was a chiropractor, acupuncture, and he was able to discover that I had several brain injuries as a child, which caused my headaches. I had a broken neck, fractured jaw, and that would lead itself to migraine headaches. So luckily, and through God's will and God's grace, he was able to put my broken body back together without drugs, never took them again, because I didn't have any pain. However, I can well understand the pharmaceutical industry and how addiction is so prevalent. You have a pain, you take a pill, it goes away, you take another pill. It's automatic. So I'm very aware of the situation we are in today. However, I want to tell people that there is a way out, but you have to work at it. And so, Ida, do you have anything to add to that?
Absolutely. Let's backtrack a little bit. Tell me a little bit about what it was for you being a registered nurse. What did that look like?
Well, I loved helping patients heal. To me, that was my passion. However I could do it. Then I ascend in the ranks. I was in the open heart surgery team, and then I was very privileged to be involved in kidney dialysis way in the 1960s. So at the University of Pennsylvania, I began help orchestrate the first kidney dialysis unit and transplantation unit in the country.
Wow.
I totally enjoyed that work because it was inventive, but I could still take care of patients. I never wanted to be so desk-bound that I wasn't taking care of patients, because you lose that patient contact. And to me, that was the most important thing. And Ida, you can agree with that, because that's what you do. You touch people's hearts. You can't touch people's hearts on paper.
No, absolutely.
You can help them through, getting things across to them, and, arranging money or funding or medicine, which is very, very helpful. But I needed the patient contact. So I was very happy that I could be an inventor, trailblazer, a nurse, and a teacher.
Wow.
And I loved it. And a consultant, because after I established the unit, I flew around the country helping other units develop too. So to me, that was great, because I could do a little bit of everything.
Absolutely. And then coming from a registered nurse and then going into the holistic side of health, that's like a huge 365-degree movement.
And Ida, the moment that this happened was my headaches became so severe I kept on being rushed to the hospital. I mean, it was ridiculous. So they sent me to a specialist, and the doctor, I'll never forget this, he looked at me square in the eyes. He said, "I know what's wrong." I was like so happy. Oh, my goodness, you know what's wrong. Let's cure this. He said, "You have clustered migraine headaches. That means they're much more severe, and you have to take Vicodin." I said, "Well, let's treat it." He said, the only treatment is to take more medicine."
Wow.
I know, and I came home and I cried. I fell on my knees, Ida. I cried and cried because I had 3 babies at home. I was divorced at that time. And I cried on the floor begging God to help me. Because as a kidney nurse, what happens to your kidneys if you take too many drugs? They stop working.
Absolutely. And that's with anything.
And that's with anything.
Yeah, the same thing that helps you initially will kill you eventually.
Yeah, so my patients that I had on dialysis were, they took too many aspirins, they took too many drugs, they took too many hypertensive medicine. I mean, I could just go on. I'm not telling people not to take their meds. I'm talking about abuse of meds. There's a difference. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I knew too well that my life was very limited. The doctor said, "You have to take these drugs." I'm looking at this and I'm going, well, I'll be dead in 10 years. There's no way I can possibly live. And I just cried on the floor. And I remember writing. I said, my profession has failed me. And I cried because I was a nurse. I mean, I was a health professional. I loved what I did, and it failed me. I'll never forget that night. I threw all the pills down the toilet, and I prayed to God, and I cried on the floor.
And then, what did God tell you?
Well, it took a couple months. He didn't say, "Okay, tonight we're going to do this." Okay, so God did take a few months. So,
but He was on time.
But he saved my life. So we will have to say, yeah. I mean. Or maybe I wasn't clear enough. He did talk to me and I didn't hear it. I don't know. But it took a little while. But I had faith that God would help me because I had no idea what to do. What was there? In my mind, there's only the medical, right? It isn't like I had an alternative background or people I knew that was an alternative medicine. Wow. So I had to I relied on God because,
God brought you the chiropractor.
Yeah, and other healers along the way. So I got to learn the holistic way, and I went, oh my goodness, it was like it was like it rained all day, and all of a sudden the sun came out. It was like, I had no idea this existed. Why didn't? Then I'm doubly mad at the medical field because they never offered me that.
Wow. And they won't, because my husband has he has COPD, and in the beginning it was, of course, it was scary, and then they give him all of those that's
drugs,
COPD medicine, and then I started to research them and found that over time they will kill you.
They will kill you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what I started doing with him, I started buying him like teas that work with the lungs and help to strengthen the lungs, and supplements and all that kind of good stuff. And of course, men, they're a little bit resistant. And what made me so happy just the other day, he said to me, "Hon, I don't know what all this stuff you're giving me, but I feel really good. I haven't had to use my pump in several weeks." Because he was at a place where every 3 months we were in the ER because he couldn't breathe. Every 3 months. And I was like, you know what, we can't even afford that.
Yeah, exactly.
One.
So, yeah, I hear you. And so I was doubly mad that my profession did not offer that to me. I forgot about that one in the beginning. But, yeah, I was angry.
Yeah, and now what happens when he goes to the doctors, they actually are pulling out a piece of paper and a pencil and writing down the things that I'm giving him.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my turning point, that I was looking for something else. I didn't, like I said, God didn't tell me right away, but eventually God put that in my life, and I took advantage of it, and I learned as it was going on. Again, we're back in the 90s, health food stores did not exist, and things of that sort. So I was very, very blessed to meet doctors of holistic medicine, and my daughter now is a DO, MD and a DO. So anyway, all of our lives have changed. However, as you well know, that any physical condition has an emotional component. It just does. And so I'm like, went to therapy and talking, and I didn't want to commit suicide anymore. That was good. But I just really wasn't happy. But it was definitely a step up. I had 3 babies to raise.
Right.
So I
had a reason to exist.
Yeah, and I said, God, just let me keep living till I can raise my babies. And then after I found all these new things to do, which were really old things, what we're talking about is old medicine. The doctor thing is the new medicine. Okay,
Absolutely.
Now I want to say that there are some places that the MD and medicines do work. I mean, if you have an acute attack of this, you have an acute infection, yes, please see your doctor. Yes, but we're talking about chronic conditions, which is way different than acute. A doctor can help acute problems, but when you have a chronic condition like me, headaches, you can't be on drugs for 30 years and expect to live. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. So that's where I just really want to make that very clear, because I do honor the doctors. Some doctors are absolutely wonderful, MDs, and they really bring people out of their acute situation. But when you start having chronic diseases, that has to be taken another look at, like we're talking about. So anyway, back to the emotional thing.
And that's
through my
next question for you.
Yeah.
Going through all of these different things, and then, what was the process that you went through that brought you to shame and guilt?
Well, that's very interesting, because I was doing some therapy. It's really interpersonal, like the interfamily child therapy, where you actually talk to the child within you. So I found that I had like a family inside of me, and which was really very nice, and I started healing and healing. And then I was in a study group, and then one of my friends came to me and she says, "Lois, I have a great book for you." And I said, "Oh, that's wonderful, because you're very open to different things when you're trying to heal." And she said, "It's a book on shame, and I think you would really enjoy it." And I said, "A book on shame? Why would you write a book on shame? What shame?" That was the most incredible question someone asked me. I had no idea what shame was. I said, "I don't know." She said, why are you looking at me like that?" I said, "I don't know what you mean by shame. I mean, I've heard of the word, but I don't know what it is." And I said, "Well, I guess I'll go to the library." That day you go to the library, not the internet. So I went to the library. I mean, it's true. I have to say that. So I went to the library and I start reading books on shame. And I'm like, oh, my God, I have shame. I have guilt. I'm not good enough. I think I'm terrible. I can't sleep at night. People put me down. I always feel like a victim. I cry easy. My goodness, I didn't know that was called shame. Oh, my goodness, I have shame. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, and I remember when we first had that discussion at the Preakness. This is where I met Miss Lois, at the Preakness in Baltimore City. And we got to talking about it, and I had never really dug into the shame and guilt situation until we spoke. And from that day forward, it was like something that I was always conscious and intentional about paying attention to myself when I'm going through the shame and guilt kind of scenario. So I want to personally thank you for bringing my awareness level up.
Well, thank you for that. And, I mean, that was just the biggest shocker of my life. So I start dealing with the shame and guilt that my inner child, inner family carried, because you don't carry it. The little personal kids inside of you, like they're 2 years old or 6 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old, whenever you were shamed as a child, and you still carry that forward. So that way I found a way to help the kid inside of me release the shame and the guilt. And so then people started coming to me, and I would help them by the same thing that you and I did, Ida, recognizing what you're doing is shameful. And that awareness makes you click. If you don't name the problem, you can never cure the problem. And that's why I think the shame, guilt, awareness is so key, because if you don't understand your enemy, or you can't name your enemy, how can you defeat it?
And it has such an effect on every part of your life. Because
the more you know, exactly, Ida, exactly. The more you know, you see it everywhere.
For sure. And then, like you said, most of it comes from childhood.
Yes, it does. And it doesn't matter, and again, I want to reinforce, you could have the most perfect parents, and you still get shamed from the little boy at school because you can't throw the basketball in the hoop. The bus driver. I mean, our world is so full of it that we really can't blame people. We can only have knowledge of it and don't accept any from anybody.
So,
and don't give it to anybody.
Right. So in going through the process of, coming to grips with the shame and the guilt, what are some of the things that you suggest doing in order to, be aware of it and do something about it?
Okay. The first thing is what you and I have been talking about, the awareness. shame and guilt are the feelings of low self-esteem, victimhood, I can't do it right, or arrogance, and I'm great all the time. So it can play either part of the seesaw. So the first part is to recognize that, and people can do that on their own. There's many books out on shame, and you can start reading yourself and finding out how all negative emotions, anxiety, anger, depression, all negative emotions are sourced by shame. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So people, so that's the first thing, is the awareness. The second thing is, don't give shame and guilt to another person, and don't receive it.
And that's definitely something that you have to be conscious and intentional about.
Exactly, like you stated. It's really in sarcasm that people speak in shame and guilt, and you can just say, "Can you say that another way?" Or that was really a stupid thing you did. That was weird. I don't know why you did that. That's crazy. I thought you were better than that. And then you go, well, that's an interesting comment. So you don't be defensive. People put you on defensive, that means they're shaming you. And you just go right back to them and say, well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Don't engage. Don't engage. Don't fight, because you're throwing the shame back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that is interesting. And then if they keep going, trying to make you a victim, got to go. My cell phone's ringing. Got to go to the bathroom. Soup's boiling. I mean, you can make up all sorts of excuses to leave.
I know, and that's what I do when I don't want to go into a negative situation. I'm like, oh, I got another call. I call you right back. It's always sweet.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye. See ya. Kids crying. You know, you're smart, Ida. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and I had to learn that because, there was a time that I had, especially with your loved ones, I think they test you the most.
Unconsciously.
Yeah, and they do. And a lot of times I would have to sit there. I felt like I had to sit there and listen to all the stuff that was making me feel horrible. And finally I said, you know what? I'm not letting anybody steal my peace.
Good for you.
I don't care who it is. And I got to the point where I was very sweet. I got to go. I got another call. Call you back. And hang up. And that got rid of all of that. I didn't go through that terrible feeling, that kind of thing. And I got to be a real pro at it.
Well, we have to learn. I've been doing this for 15 years, Ida, and I'm still learning. So when people start dumping on you, oh, my husband is there, and oh, you go, okay, what are you going to do about that? And if they still keep dumping, say, that's not for me. I'm here for how can we correct it, because they're really dumping their shame on you. Their shame on you, and you're not accepting it.
Absolutely. And I think in the workplace, it happens a lot, especially with those bully bosses, I call them.
Yes.
That they know everything and you know nothing. And I've had to go through that as well. And, at first, you try to respect authority, and somebody that is your boss, you want to show respect to them. But then it gets to a point where, they're not respecting you.
Exactly.
So it's like that's a two-way street. We're all adults here.
And that's what you can say when a boss is bullying. You can say, that's interesting. Can you say that another way?
I know. I just stay away from me at this point.
And then you say, I'm, I have, you can say that another way. So that's what I teach. First of all, the awareness. Second of all, don't get into a shame contest. Learn different. And my book has that too. My book has a lot of the sentences, what you can say. Isn't that interesting? Can you say that another way?
Tell us about your book.
My book is Emotional Revolution Equals Evolution. And releasing shame and guilt. I'm thinking about changing the title. U-turns are great. But anyway, it's a very long title. So I know we're coming to a close here, but the main thing is it's important to know when I shame another person, like put shame on them, make them a victim, I get more shame because it actually has to go through me to go to them.
Wow, that is a good way of looking at it.
So you do yourself harm as well as doing the recipient of the shame you're throwing harm. There's no good shame. Shame is good for nothing. It only can hurt you, and when you shame another person, you get hurt as well.
Wow. Did
I
y'all
know.
Hear that? Did y'all hear that? Say that again, Miss Lois.
When you purposely shame or give someone a guilt trip, that shame energy, because shame and guilt's an energy, it fires emotions. That energy, that negativity, however you want to call it, is made within you, and you get hurt. It goes through your nervous system to distort it as it goes to the party that you're giving it to in your words. Words are like bullets. It pierces their soul as it pierces your soul. You get injured on a soul level, and that person that you're giving the shame and guilt to, his soul is injured as well.
So how can our listeners reach out to you and learn more of this shame and guilt? Because I think it's a lot of people around the world that is going through this, and because they are ashamed of the shame and the guilt, so it's like
they're too ashamed to talk about it. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So how can our audience get in touch with you?
Okay, Lois, Lois 3 Hollis, HOLLIS @gmail.com.
Okay. And I see you have a video out as well.
Yes, you can go on YouTube and type in the words Out of Discord, DISCORD, into Harmony. And my DVD will come up.
Okay. Well, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. And like I said before, I just want to thank you for bringing my awareness level up about shame and guilt, because I'd never really thought about it in the way that you presented it. And it just has always, since we've had that conversation, a couple years ago, I am very conscious and intentional about when shame and guilt is coming up. And I think it's also supported me in my family, because, when you have kids, sometimes they can take you there. But
they do. They do.
Taking that minute to okay, let me breathe, because I'm getting ready to say something that I'm going to regret. So let me walk away and breathe. So thank you so much, because that also helped to make a difference in my family as well, because sometimes, especially with kids, oh my God, when you have to say the same things over and over and over again, and every time they tell you they heard you,
yeah, right.
And then they turn around and do it again, and you But anyway, this is a great, great topic, and I am looking forward to seeing what's coming up next for you. So tell us about.
I decided. Well, I wrote a movie, a full-length movie. My DVD is only maybe 10 minutes of the movie. I'm making that full-length movie now, and I'm making a movie on shame and guilt.
All right. Well, when is that supposed to be coming out?
I think maybe 2 years, but people can, write in to me if they're interested. They have thoughts on it. That's why I gave my email. At this point, I'm in pre-production.
Okay. Well, I will definitely put my 2-cent word in.
Oh, please do. I want all of us to be involved to make this the way it should be made.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Okay. Blessings to you, Ida. I appreciate it, and blessings to God for keeping me alive.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And blessings to God for having Him bring us together, because that was definitely God. It wasn't any of our own doing. And give your email address again so that our listeners can get in contact with you.
Lois, Lois, 3, Hollis, HOLLIS, @gmail.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lois. I truly appreciate and love you.
And blessings to you. Time is out. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
This show is brought to you by the amazing women of A Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASIN LLC, where we are never in competition, but always in collaboration. And our valuable sponsors, Prodigy Accounting Service, Next Generation Accounting to get you where you need to be. Contact them at prodigyaCCT1@yahoo.com or online at www.fli-inc.com. Prodigy Accounting Service, Next Generation Accounting to get you where you need to be. Contact them at prodigyaCCT1@yahoo.com or online at www.fli-inc.com. Ready to plan for your retirement? Contact Game Plan for Retirement. Call 410-902-0464 and schedule a free consultation. That's Game Plan for Retirement, 410-902-0464. Interested in becoming a sponsor for Just Minding My Business 24/7 radio? Or would you like to know what a Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASIN LLC, is all about? Contact us today at asistercircle@gmail.com and visit our website at asistercircle.org. That's ASISTAS circle.org. Contact us today at asistercircle@gmail.com and visit our website at asistercircle.org. That's ASISTAS circle.org. Voiceovers for A Sister Circle Empowerment Network provided by Ruth Haskins, voiceover actor. To fulfill your professional voiceover needs or to receive her current professional demo, contact Ruth at 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.